the Markeisha Hall podcast. I'm your host, Markeisha Hall, and I am so excited today to meet, I don't know, I feel like we've known each other forever, Jennifer. We were just talking about how awesome it is to have community over Instagram. That's how we met. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and her beautiful family, and then we'll just hop into a conversation.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on this podcast. I'm super excited to quote unquote meet you. Even though, I feel like we've connected for a while now. My name's Jennifer. I'm over on the opposite side of the coast, over in Maine. And we get all sorts of different seasons. So if anybody knows me, you know we're outside all the time. I worked as a nurse up until last year, and then now stay home with my two kids. My 4-year-old is non-speaking and autistic. He got his diagnosis at age 2. And then I have a 1.5-year-old who, from what I can tell, is neurotypical, but I keep that, door open if something, will support whatever happens. I'm married to a really just wonderful guy. His name is Michael. And he's just been I think we make a really good team with our children, and a lot of my focus, I guess, as a mother is meeting my children where they're at, not pushing too hard, and really seeing like what they gravitate to. I want to keep stress low. I want to keep fun high.
Yes.
And I'm really working on trying to listen to them and supporting them in what they need.
And you are doing a great job there. I love being a parent. So I love watching other parents parent. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And I think that comes with when you love like motherhood so much, because I feel the same way. And before kids, I didn't get it. And now I just meet other families and see their children, and I get so excited. I'm like, what are you learning about? What are you all about? I'm so excited about it.
Yes, I do too, which brings me into my topic about just, I don't know if I want to say building confidence as a parent, or we were discussing kind of earlier that a lot of parents that are raising children with disabilities are, I don't know, fearful or nervous about being out in the community. Because they're maybe worried about, these are words that I've heard from parents, worried about what other people are going to be thinking about them and their child. And I know that you guys get out there, you guys hike and put the baby on the back.
Oh yeah.
And streams and blueberry picking and all kinds of activities. So talk to the mom or dad, because my husband be like, you're always trying to talk to the moms. And
I need to remember that.
I know. I forget. I have a great support system too. So moms or dads out there that are feeling that way. Like, how do you go out and about? You have 2 little ones.
Well, I think it first starts with honestly talking about your child's disability. I really do. I think that before you go out, you need to really empower yourself with knowledge about your child's disability and their needs. Because if you don't, you're going to run into too many situations where you feel unprepared. And no matter what happens, like if you can fall back on that knowledge and that go-to, I feel like you can stay baseline. Not saying, we talked about it a little bit earlier, a meltdown can happen. It doesn't mean that day is going to be a bad day. Right. So I think I really, really encourage parents. We connected through Instagram. There's a fabulous, disability community on Instagram. There's an isolation feeling that first starts where you feel like I can't go out, and then you're stuck home and you're like, So I think empowering yourself with knowledge and connecting with people, hearing what their children are doing. Right. And seeing like, what do I feel like my child's going to gravitate to? I think something I've talked about with some parents is really, really important to check your parent expectations because they're often too high.
That's good. Yes.
I mean, we want to bring them to the pool and we want them to swim the first day right
Right.
away. We want them to be the little fish and all this stuff. And we need to step back and think about is it a competition? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Right.
What does my child need at every moment? You need to think, what does my child need and how am I supporting that? So, Julian isn't swimming independently yet, but people think that things are like, maybe I post positive things and that things aren't difficult, but that's not true.
Right.
We take it, baby steps. We started at
Mm-hmm.
the pool. He wouldn't go in the pool for the first time, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
touch the water. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe the next day he put his hand in, and maybe the next time, he splashed a little bit or threw something in the pool. And it's very slow, but I want to encourage parents to don't stop trying.
Right.
Because
I agree with that.
when you stop trying, they lose that opportunity to learn and to show you that, yes, I can do this.
Right.
As far as something that is really hard is being afraid of being judged.
Mm-hmm.
I have felt this feeling, and it just puts a pit in your stomach, and it's just a yucky feeling all around. Something I encourage parents to do is like have a game plan,
Mm-hmm.
and keep it short and sweet.
Yes.
With kids, like, better to leave on a good note than a bad note.
Right.
If things are going well, let's leave it at that and let the child just have that positive experience. Even if you wanted to stay longer, again, with that, checking that parent expectation. Are we going to go to the apple orchard for 2 hours, or maybe we're only going to go for 20 minutes?
Right.
Have an exit plan at all times.
Yes.
Something that I think makes it easier for my family personally is that we're in Maine. There's a lot of outdoor spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and I find that is very, very comforting and soothing to children. So, and autistic people, and from what I've read, kind of greenery and things is very comforting. So I encourage definitely going outside, moving your body, and obviously safety is number one. So be cognizant of that. But I think being outdoors and choosing to go out to places that are maybe a little less hectic, a little less noisy, a little less confining, are going to reduce those feelings in your child of bolting, eloping, and maybe being overstimulated. So start out small with kind of quieter activities, and we don't have to jump right into going to a theme park.
Yes.
That's going to be a lot, and we're going to work up to it. But I think starting small is the number one thing, and connecting with other parents, like we said before, and knowing that they're doing small things too. It's not just you. You are not alone with your trajectory on your family. Yeah.
I like that. I really like that you said your parent expectations of going out, because you want to, especially, and we want to just acknowledge that, especially on Instagram, you just see everything. You see the highlights, and we all say that, but sometimes on the inside you're like, and I'm going to be like, my daughter is going to college, for example. And it's not just if you're raising a child that has a disability, it's just out there. And she hadn't gotten her acceptance letter yet. But people started to get them.
Oh.
And I knew she would. She's a scholar. So I knew she would, but a little bit inside is like, what is she digging? What is she digging in? People are probably waiting for me to, because, it's like she's graduating, waiting for me to post kind of where she did. And I was like, Markeisha, really? But really, if I'm being honest, and that's how a lot of parents feel, like, I see all these other people doing this, even though I know the progress that they've made. I can really relate to Julian's story, because Josiah, you see him in the water all the time now, but he literally would not take a bath. It was lots. I get choked up thinking about it, but it was a lot of work.
Yes.
You just see him splash in the pool now. He's like, wow, he's zip lining and he's rafting and all. But we could get him to take a bath when he first got into our home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's hard. That's a daily living skill, right? So we're not just talking about pools. We're talking about, we have to take baby steps to get a lot of his daily needs met. Had to be, worked on in increments.
Yep.
So I think leaving parents with like your parent expectation, it might not look like that, but I want to encourage parents too. And you do a good job of this also, is posting the baby steps, because people are out there cheering for you. So if they're posting like, my kid swam across the pool on the first day, you're like, oh, that's great. Guess what Josiah did? He put his toe in the water. And we're so happy with that, because, just getting others in our celebrations. Sometimes we feel like they're going to be like, oh, he put his toe in the, but generally there's some mean people out there, but generally people are like, oh my gosh, that's great. If they know where you're coming from, like, oh, he went from not even looking at the pool to now he's putting his toe in the water and throwing his toys. There'll be people out there that will celebrate you, because they'll get it, or they just think your kid is cute. The cheeks, like, oh my gosh, that's so great. And they'll celebrate it. So just don't hold it in. Celebrate, be proud of where your child is, and kind of normalize. I know that's a word.
Yeah, we need to we need to normalize celebrating. We need to give ourselves permission to celebrate the baby steps.
Yes, right.
It doesn't always have to be this big party, this big, because life is all about baby steps. Nobody gets from point A to point C without, well, I feel like it's taken me, I'm going to like A to Z. I've got a lot in between. I do feel like there's a little, and I think it comes down to that kind of parent competition, because that happens like right when they're born. Right. Like, when is your child crawling? Are they walking yet? It starts so early. And I remember before Julian got his diagnosis, I was looking around with that similar feeling, like, oh, these other kids are doing this, this, and this. Like, my son's not doing that. Like, am I doing something wrong? Right. And something I've seen a lot of parents talk about is that your child's, if they're having a bad day, it's not a reflection on you as a parent, and it's not a reflection on who your child is either. It's that everybody has a bad day, and we're all learning about ourselves every day. Right. What was the thing that kind of tipped us over the edge, and giving our children and ourselves this grace to learn. Because a lot of people call it failure, but I'm starting to think like, well, nothing's ever really failure. I mean, as long as you try again, right? Like, we're just learning. So I've even stopped saying that, Julian is struggling with something. I've tried to rephrase it to say, oh, Julian's learning. Because for me, if I get stuck on him struggling, I just feel like, does he feel like he's struggling? So I'm like, maybe I'm projecting those feelings into existence, or, I'm trying to be more, and I liked how you said, like, putting yourself out there, being brave, and putting those tiny moments out there. And I think putting that energy out there for other people to see, like, I am proud of my child. So I think that really creates a positive environment for families of disabled children.
Absolutely. I don't know. We were talking about this earlier, since I have a college, high school, junior high, and Josiah's our fourth child.
Oh my goodness.
I learned so much, even though I just learned so much. I think it's also different than like your first kid than to your, well, now he's the fourth. I think yesterday he had, I don't know, candy. I know he had 2 muffins. That would have never
Sounds
happened.
Like a day here, yeah.
He's on the iPad till it dies. She was like, she actually, she's like, Mom, you would have never. She didn't get to watch TV. She was my first baby. So I was like, we have 2 hours. And now I'm like, none of that, none of it.
You have all the checklists at first,
Yep.
And and you throw it out the window after you realize, like, kids don't work that way.
Right. Yeah. And I want parents to know that too, that the other parents it feels like that, but they're just being proud of their kids where they are also, because I definitely celebrated my daughter. I just celebrated. She's going to college. Like, this is great. It's not that your kid isn't, isn't doing these things at this time. It's just that they're proud too. And I feel like parents that just love, like, I just love motherhood would celebrate those things too, because they would get it if they were given the opportunity to do, if we weren't holding those kind of things.
Yes, it's so interesting you bring up this point, because I don't do a lot of like Facebook support groups, because sometimes I find that can be a little bit like hit or miss on the environment.
Right.
But I did see a post about a mother who was having a difficult time seeing like another family she knew posting like what she perceived as really happy moments and like all these different places that family was going.
Right.
And essentially she was feeling guilty because she was feeling jealous and not wanting to see that, like enough to the point where she considered like unfriending that person.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just trying to work through those feelings. And I think that a lot of us have been there.
Yes.
And I think for me, it was really diving into disability culture, and reading a lot about like firsthand experiences. And, you know, Julian is autistic, which is, you know, is a disability. But I also think it's really important for parents to learn about kind of disability greater than just their experience with their child. Because I think it gives a really important perspective. And it's really, really helped me on seeing how adaptable people are and how, with the right supports, I mean, people can do anything. I feel so encouraged, so empowered. And I think that has helped me let go and just see everything my son accomplishing as the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. So I really hope other parents can get there. And I know we know a lot of the same people on Instagram, but there are mentors out there. There are people out there wanting to support you and empower you as a parent.
Right.
You know, if your child is autistic or if they have another disability, you know, there's help out there. Unfortunately, sometimes the healthcare system and school system can't provide those supports. So we do have to seek them out ourselves, and it's a little bit more work, but it's worth it. I mean, we want to love and support our kids the best way. And we ourselves deserve happiness.
Right.
And so taking care of your mental health and working through all those difficult feelings. Like, I just want to tell other parents I have been there and I feel like I've crossed over, you know, and I just feel so positive and free and like, just like ready for life with my son.
That's beautiful. And I was telling you earlier, I feel like I cheated because what you said, I was in the classroom, high needs classroom, changing my language also, listening to the disability community. I would taught high needs classrooms. I've seen a lot of, and it just wasn't an autism class. It was multiple disabilities. Mm-hmm. So I've seen a lot, and that gave me the confidence that I have now. Or I get a lot of stuff that says, "Oh wow, we could never do that," and I feel like it's just because I've actually seen and worked with different families, different children at different stages. I've seen them go from this point to this point, and I'm just like blown away every time they were like, they touched the goldfish, you know. And it might have took the whole year. At first, they just hated the goldfish. They even want to see the box. Or I remember my students' happy birthday, and that's hard to avoid at a school. Mm-hmm. Crying was one of the students. That one was really difficult because it was preschool. Kids cry.
Yes.
It's a school. So happy birthday song is hard to avoid. Some of those things were like, how do we, but seeing them work through it, working with their parents, really honing in on not just the IEP goals, but just their looking at the family as a whole and saying like, how are we going to work on those things? Every time there's a meltdown or they're not making that much progress towards anything is really, I look at it as a learning opportunity. So when besides having a hard time, I'm like, I'm not freaking out. I'm like, what happened and how can I help him be more independent with working through these feelings? It was much more difficult when he was non-speaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier, a little bit easier now, but we're still trying to still have to figure out some things. But yeah, I just encourage parents to feel like that. How is what's going on, and how can I help them independently or intrinsically help them? And sometimes a parent coach that I'm going through this because I like to control things. I don't know.
Yeah. That's me. That's me.
So she was like, what if you just, and I was like, well, I feel helpless. When he's having a meltdown, I feel helpless because I want to help him. And I don't know what's wrong. And so, Mom, I want to fix it. And she was like, what if you don't have to fix it? What if he's just having his own moment? It has nothing to do with, just how he's expressing his self at that time, just like we would be doing. But we were able to communicate it. We were able to talk to a friend. We were able to, and I was like, so she's like, just trust him that he knows what his body needs.
I love that.
And as long as he's safe, instead of going into what can I do? What can I do? I feel bad because I can't help it. I don't know what's wrong. Trusting that he knows what he needs for his body at that time. As long as he's safe, as long as he's safe, then letting him be and just trusting that it'll be okay. And I was like,
light bulb moment.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Learning to trust your child is so hard because I feel like not a lot of us in this generation were given that trust. We weren't really taught that. So I feel like it's a new concept for us as parents.
Yeah.
Like I know best, I'm the parent or I'm the teacher, I'm the adult. And I think we're finding out with kind of these more gentler parent techniques that I do want to stress that you can apply that to any child. I think sometimes there's an isolation in the parents of autistic people, that community where they feel like nothing applies to them.
Right.
But I want to counter that and say that it does. Because just because autistic people present emotions differently doesn't mean they still don't all feel those emotions. Right. So that's kind of the learning curve for me was really learning my son's language. I mean, he's non-speaking, but he's still, talks to me in a lot of different ways. And I think that empowering parents to trust their kids, and yes, safety obviously is number one. But I think they'll be surprised with what their child can do for themselves as far as like seeking out what they need, because Julian has like stimmed pretty consistently since he was about 18 months old. And they've kind of varied over the years. He'll kind of cycle through one for like 6 months and then, I don't know, maybe he gets bored. But we're like, okay, well, I mean, we did process, like at first we didn't really know what it was. So acknowledge that really helped. And so it's scary at first, but it seemed like because I hate to use the word allowed it, but we were like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. It seemed like he was able to kind of work through what he needed to work through. And then he would just move on. When he needed deep pressure, you would find him like laying on his chest on like a table or a chair. So we really encouraged that behavior more than anything, or found other ways like a compression vest so he could wear that and maybe feel more comfortable sitting and doing table activities at school. That was a big game changer for us. So yeah, listening to your child and not trying to get them to be someone they're not. I mean, that's a big one. And again, I think it applies to all parents. So jump
in there and fix it or help, just really observe and
support.
And see like, oh, okay, they keep on doing this at this time, and then they're like happier, or then they're not happier. those are, finding out likes and dislikes. Just observing and being, that's the word. She's like, just
like being present.
Yeah. Just like, you always, feel like you have to be doing something, because if you're not doing something as a mom or a dad for Dre, then you don't feel like you're being a good parent. If you're not doing something that's helping your kid be better for their future, like all the pressure, right? Instead of being in the moment, being at 3, being at 2, being at every stage of their life, then you're missing that. And we all fall into that trap. I'm saying this right now, but literally I get into like, I need to help him. I need to do, not just him, with all the kids. I need to help them do that. Oh, how's your shoulder, honey? High schooler playing football. How's your shoulder? Let me call the coach. That's a whole nother story.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's our protective instinct. We just want to make sure that
you don't call the coach in high school, but he's going to keep hurting his shoulder. It's going to tear the more that this is me.
Yeah.
People don't see that on Instagram. They just be like, hey, I'm trying to call my high school son's football coach to fix his shoulder. Okay. So he can stop playing the game. And so it's just a cycle that we go to as parents. But I think hearing other parents say these things, because you see, our Instagram squares and we're picking blueberries and zip lining, that there's, behind that is that we all go through the same things, and that it's okay to be thinking that, and then just be like, and change. You're able to change.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. You have to know what you're doing before you can change it. You have, which is really, really hard. And when you said that we feel like we have to be doing something, I think also for me, I feel like that was a little bit of like the being worried about what people thought. Like it was that control, that I could control how people perceived us or perceived my son or perceived me as a mother. And I think for me, talking about our journey has really helped me. I'm going to try and find the right words, but has really helped me kind of see what my priorities were, and then so acknowledge them and be like, okay, I don't feel like that's maybe the most positive mindset. So like, let's see if we can change this. Yeah. Stepping back and trusting our kids is very hard as moms, because we're in charge of a lot.
Yeah.
So, we want to keep doing it. It's our, like Julian is, learning, we're both learning to use his AAC device. And I had my husband videotape us a few times, and I rewatched the video, and I was kind of like rushing Julian and kind of doing a lot of it myself. And I was like, oh, I didn't like that. So it gave me that, like, I had that in my head the next time we did it. And I was like, step back, let's see what he does. Like, we need to trust our children to not get it right.
Right.
And it's hard because you want them to get it right, but it doesn't, it's going to be okay.
Right. You want to get it right because you want to help them.
Yes.
Be helpful. And they're like, back up, lady.
Yeah. And he did it. We were ordered ice cream, and he, clicked a few buttons that kind of sort of didn't make, I don't want to say didn't make sense, but like motor skill wise, I think when you get excited,
right.
But we worked through that, and he still got what he wanted and was able to, to tell us. So that was a win, yeah, but it was scary the first time. So second time was a little easier.
I saw that with the sprinkles. But even like you were saying, like, this is going to be a whole nother podcast episode if you will come back on.
Oh, love it.
I always think about my students, and I said they were high needs. So a lot of them were non-speaking, but 99% of them were non-speaking when they came into my classroom. And I have to tell you that there was maybe only 2 that I remember throughout the time that I taught that had a AAC device and utilized the way that I'm seeing on the internet now. I'm just like, there was Ronan. They were singing with his
Old McDonald.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like, I get choked up. I mean, that was beautiful to me. And I was like, I loved, this is another thing. I loved my students. I loved their parents. I honestly didn't know, honestly, as a teacher. Now that I'm learning more about it, when I'm talking to parents and when I'm, some teachers just don't know. And that's why talking to other parents and seeing other parents, and they were like, oh, I saw Julian and I saw these other kiddos with their AAC device and I need to have this in my classroom. Like parents may not know, not only parents, but the teachers may not know either, even if they do want what's best. I literally didn't know how amazing and how exciting that is to have a voice. There's so many things. I mean, it's just amazing. We have to talk about it because I'm still.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the thing, yeah, knowledge is power. Knowledge is, and, we have to get, I think, with all the information, I think that's out there, what's really disappointing as a parent is that it's really not tailored to you. That's the really hard part. And so what can feel really overwhelming at first is sifting through all the information to find what is going to be best for your child. I think a lot of parents have talked to me about feeling like they get a diagnosis and it feels like someone just drops a report in your lap and then walks away.
Yes.
So I think that's why the online community is really flourishing, because people are seeking out those supports and feeling lost,
right,
and not finding it elsewhere. So I think my hope, and obviously a lot of people feel this way, but my hope is that we can kind of create a better system of getting that support and that information out to parents so they can get their child started on AAC right away. Because I think back and I wish we had done it earlier, but I didn't know either. I thought it was just, I didn't know what AAC meant. I thought it was just an iPad, and I thought, oh, I don't want my son to have more screen time. And that's so silly now, because I'm like, oh my, AAC is like, is independence. It's communication. It's amazing. So not understanding what it is, and then there's a lot of stereotypes within the autism community that we're all working hard to eradicate and get the real information out there. But knowledge is power, and let's hope that you and me and all these other people, like, sharing a little bit of our story can get parents to a place where they feel better and more supported.
Yeah, I wish I would have, and I'm coming from special education teacher, but Joe was non-speaking until he was 4. We got him at 2.5. No one said anything to me about it.
Yeah.
And I am in the field, and I don't know what I thought how we came. I thought maybe his speech therapist would recommend it. Maybe, I don't know. I think that's where I'm thinking that it came from, because the 2 students I did have, that's where that came from, or the parent. So even, I think about that now, especially when I'm seeing things and I'm thinking about how frustrated he was, when we're trying to say, do you want the milk? And he's, well, no, he loves milk. Salad. He hates salad. So I'll use salad. We'll put salad, and he's like, I don't like salad. He wasn't able to say that. So he'd just be very frustrated. And just if he had a way to communicate that to us, how much better our communication would be in us understanding him, instead of use the things that we were utilizing. So I want parents to know that even if you're in these different fields, like you're a nurse, so I'm sure sometimes you're like, maybe I should, I don't know if you feel like this, but if it's medical kind of things, you're like, maybe I should have known that they were going to be catching, I don't know. I don't want to say nothing as small as a cold, but.
Oh, absolutely. I learned so much every day that I wish that the medical community
I should know this.
Knew. Yeah. My eyes have been opened on so many different issues, and we have so much to talk about. No,
I know.
I'll try to stay on track. I need to open a.
No problem.
Jules wants a granola bar. Yeah, when you talked about Joe feeling, those moments of frustration early on with the communication challenges. I remember crying over Zoom to our former speech therapist because Julian was going through these when he was like between 2 and 3, I think, really struggling with his emotions because he couldn't communicate them properly. And imagine being stuck, you know, like that's so frustrating.
Yes, it is.
And so I was trying to support him as best I could, and we worked through that. But I remember breaking down and crying because I was telling them, like, I can't fix this for him. I need to know what he's thinking and what he needs. And when I don't know that as a parent, it's just one of the most difficult things that I've experienced with having an autistic child was that guilt of, and I think that was the moment someone needed to say, let's try an AAC. And that moment was lost, unfortunately. Yeah. So, I think they even need to change the name, like speech therapy. Some people, that's not going to be a thing, and that's okay. So, there's definitely tough moments. I'm torn about what to share sometimes, because everyone kind of expects you to be like, that every moment is harder, I think sometimes they don't expect you to be happy. Yeah. So that's kind of that's why I really like your page. I just feel like you're just all about empowerment. You're all about like, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's keep going. That's what I really like about you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's definitely hard moments, but
there is, and
I'm not going to, but I just, I think if we share different things, then it'd be like, okay, well, I could try this. Everything's not going to work out, but that's just how it is with all kids.
Yeah. And I think also what helps with why I like your page is you are so no judgment. You say, try it, but if somebody doesn't, you're not going to say like, you did this wrong or this. You're like let's try something else mindset, the not give up mindset. So I think you have created a really like positive, uplifting,
thanks.
Uplifting page. And I think that I'm glad that you exist on this space because, you're a resource, but you're also kind of, you have got so many different hats on you, the education and then the coach and then the parent. Yeah. So like, it's so cool. I love meeting people that have all those like perspectives because it makes your voice so unique.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do. Well, I just love being a mom. I mean, I really, really do. Like my sister, she loves my nieces, but when she was growing up, we grew up together. She didn't want to play with our dolls. She did not want children. She didn't want a wedding ring. She wanted 100 pair of tennis shoes. I wanted to be a mom. I tried to mother all the kids in the neighborhood. I still have my dolls, my Cabbage Patch. My mom, I still have them. Actually, I put that up in my post. I actually got into one fight, and I don't fight, with my cousin because she took my Cabbage Patch doll off her bed and tossed her down the stairs.
So Mama Bear came out really early then.
Early. I was like 8. I was like, you did not throw my baby down the stairs. You're going at it now.
Oh my goodness.
So I just want other moms to be able to enjoy being a parent and letting you know that I think I have a different perspective because I have 4 kids. And each one of them is different. Sometimes me and my husband, and I'm sure you are already noticing, like their personalities are so different. We're like, we parent them in the same house.
Yep.
We do the same things, and we have 4 very different kids. The way that they say, the way that they respond, and just that's respecting your child as their own person, that, and just learning that, which I feel like I'm doing a better job each kid, letting go of that and letting them kind of be their own person and respecting what that is. Like I'm really huggy and cuddly, My daughter is not.
Interesting.
So if I'm going to give her a hug, I'll be like, I'm coming in for a hug. And she obliges me because I'm her mom, but I don't do it that often. Where my boys hop in the bed and we're snuggle, wuggle, all three of them. And she just isn't. And instead of being offended, like, oh, she doesn't love me. She just doesn't like to like manicures, pedicures, spa days. She doesn't want nobody to touch her.
Yeah.
Just respect that at the house, and we don't turn it into like, oh, she doesn't love us. Oh, she doesn't, turn it into something about me and what I need because I love that. But she doesn't like that, and so that doesn't mean that she doesn't love us.
Yeah,
she shows us her love in a different.
Yeah,
way.
It sounds like you guys compromise really well.
Yeah, we kind of do.
I like that.
Okay.
Julian is so. Oh, I'm glad that you brought that up. So Julian doesn't like kisses on his face unless he's the one that initiates them, and then he like does it quite a bit. So when I ask for a kiss, and we've been doing this for a long time, he just tilts his head down because he wants it on the top of his head. So sensory wise, that's where he feels comfortable. So I kind of get what I need, but I also am respecting what he needs. And kind of when we first discovered this together, him and I did feel a little bit like hurt. I was like, oh, like my baby won't let me kiss them. But then I was like, wait a second, why? Like I was like, but he does. And he does show me affection in different ways. And we're so close and I love him so much. So, at bedtime when I'm tucking him in and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, I love you. Can I have a kiss? And he just tilts his head and it's just a really special moment. And I just had to get, like, I don't want to say get used to it, but like, I just had to like understand what it meant. And like separate from like what I initially thought, like what you said, like, it's not all about me.
Right.
So yeah, I like that little compromise. And I like hearing from autistic people in describing like how they feel internally versus like maybe what like shows on their face and things like that. And so knowing things like that, I feel like I can read Julian a little bit better. And because he's non-speaking, I also feel like we have a very special relationship. I kind of view it as, I didn't always think this. So to other parents, like this is something I've worked on, but I also feel like I'm like, wow, I must know him really well. Because I can take a look at him and know if he's sick. Like I can take a look at him and know if like he needs to use the bathroom, or if he's excited or if he's scared. Like I really can. I do really know my son, and him not speaking isn't going to prevent us from communicating. But the AAC device is obviously going to really allow for his thoughts to be expressed. But yeah, I think there's a lot of beauty in accepting your children the way they are and finding joy in like how unique your relationship with them is, no matter how that looks like.
Right. I like that you said too, Josiah doesn't like kisses either. He don't like kisses at all, but he will give them. But when we're thinking like, oh, he doesn't give me a kiss. And you find like, oh, so he doesn't love me. He doesn't, me. When you said like looking in the community and saying how that feels to him, like I don't know how it feels. He never told us. I just know that he doesn't like it. But listening to other autistic adults, it could be like I hate chalk. Oh, I hate styrofoam. Talking about it. It physically makes me, it feels like it physically makes me ill. Like just seeing it and hearing it.
Yeah.
And, that's how someone was describing like how a kiss, maybe how that feels to him. Probably not like we're thinking, oh, he just doesn't love me, but it can be a physical, or it is a physical, like a pain. I don't know. He's never said it was a pain, but it's not something that he likes. And he's pretty, we dance and he's very affectionate towards me.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Well, me and Jennifer can go on and on, but we're going to let you guys go and we're going to pick up the conversation again with Jenn at a later date. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.